What up?
Man, I look
What
like
up? What
mom. Look
up?
at this.
Look at what?
I look like mom.
Who looks like mom?
Okay. Hi, everyone.
You look like mom?
Yes.
In what way?
Exactly like her. Okay. Anyway, how you doing?
We got an old background. We're not the PK podcast anymore.
Actually, we haven't been the PK podcast in a while.
We did one episode as the PK podcast, and we've been Club PK since then.
I couldn't find what I needed, y'all. I couldn't find it, and I don't have time to, keep
I
looking.
could,
Why don't we
I
just
could,
take that out
I
of the
could.
folder
That's one of the options. Not even use it.
since we're not using it. See, I don't even see the other one, Paul.
I don't think it might not be in there. I can
Okay.
put it in there. Uh, let's do that now. Go ahead and talk to the people while I fix it.
So let's talk about this because I don't. The way you organize things is difficult for me to understand.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're not organized. I'm just saying
I'm very
your
organized.
method,
It might only work in my head.
your method of organization doesn't work well when there's another person involved.
Mm, mm,
so so
mm.
it would help me a lot if everything I need access to I would have access to instead of only you. So yeah, let's put those in the let's put those in the place where we both have them. You know.
Hmm. That's one of the options is to make them
I,
available.
I was also late in Paul's defense, and if I was on time, we would have had time to figure all this out. But I just got here,
I
so
actually wasn't gonna say that.
I'll say it.
I was
I don't mind.
I was just gonna take it.
I'm just
I
gonna,
wasn't gonna say if you were here when we said we were gonna be here, this wouldn't be an issue. But
yeah, it wouldn't be an issue, but it shouldn't have been an issue in the first place. Is my point.
that's also
That's all
true.
I'm saying.
It's all good points.
That's all I'm saying.
Let's delete all of these. I'm gonna delete all the old ones because we don't need them anymore. Move to trash. They're gone. So
Also,
now the new ones are in there.
the last episode that we had with Kim Kale, which was such a fun episode,
That was a lot of fun.
we spent quite a lot of time talking about Prince and how Prince was the greatest artist of all time. We started talking about his music and how we were going to starting our shows with Prince music, and then YouTube was like, nope.
Yep.
So we're not doing
That's
that
exactly what
anymore.
happened. Exactly what happened. YouTube was
Yeah.
like, you can't do that, and we're
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess
So
we can't
we
do.
will no longer be doing that, but we are still Prince fans. And I'm gonna have a Prince playlist day in remembrance of him. But yeah, we won't be doing that anymore.
One of the greats.
One of the
One of the
greats.
greats. In the meantime, we'll play Eric and
Yes,
DC.
Eric Griggs. I want us to scroll his like album name on the bottom too when his song is playing. That
Oh, that's a
song
good
is
idea.
dope. It's
Yeah.
on all the
B2B,
things
back
that
to
play the
Euphoria.
things.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It
a
was
single though.
actually, it
That's
was
not on his
actually,
album.
no, it was a single, but actually charted. It was like I can't remember how high it got. It got to like the top 20 or something on
It was
some.
Eric. Listen,
It did really well.
Eric
It
Griggs
did
knows what
really
he's
well.
doing over there.
Hmm.
So
It's a dope song, and the part of the song that we play is my favorite part, the guitar solo. And the thing I love about that guitar solo is it almost feels like it wants to go high. You know, a lot of guitar solos, the guitar is screaming, like electric guitar, they screaming. He deliberately doesn't scream the guitar. It's just a lower register solo. It's very melodic, which I think is just dope. I think it's really appropriate for the song. You know what I mean? So yeah, just well done, good work. Eric is not watching; he's on the plane to Korea right now, but he might watch it later. So who knows?
He'll see it later when we tell him we shouted him out.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll go watch it. Where'd you put him, Paul?
In the same folder, they're just called Club PK logo background. There's a JPEG and a PNG.
So we have a video backgrounds folder in that folder. Just FYI.
It's not video. It's not. It's a still picture.
I understand, but it's not saying that the files are videos. It's saying that these are backgrounds that we use for videos.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So the peak. So I see. So I should put those in there. Is what you're saying?
That's where I would look for them if I were looking for them.
No, that's where they are now. So I deleted the wrong ones. I see. Okay. Anyway, we have a guest today.
We do. We do have a guest. Welcome everyone. By the way, it's been a
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. We haven't had an
it's
episode
been
in
at
like
least a
over
month,
a
I
month.
think.
Yeah, it's been a little
There's been
while.
a lot going on, and
Mhm.
there's still a
We'll
lot
talk
going
about
on. But
some of the things that we'll talk about some of the things that are going on. Probably in the next episode. Actually, it's kind of what we have in mind.
that's a good idea.
So
Why not?
for today,
But we do have a guest. Can I do this while I'm while I'm
We
on
have a
here?
guest.
We say this every time. One of these days, we're gonna be like ready,
Mm-hmm.
prepared. It hasn't happened yet, but it's gonna happen one of these days. That day is not today, clearly, but it's gonna happen one of these days. Do you want to introduce our guest, Paul?
Yes, our guest today is Robert Kennedy III. Old friend. Not that he's old, but we've just been friends a really long time.
Well,
And like an older brother, you know. And I don't know. I don't think I've ever told him this, but I really looked up to him when I was a kid. You know, when we met, I think he was in college, and I was in like middle school. So, but oldest brother of one of my best friends, and so Bobby was like a mist. You know what I mean? Bobby was just kind of around. He didn't hang out with us. We were little kids, but you know, he was just around. You know, and I was kind of looked up to like Bobby as kind of an example and stuff, and I'll finish that when he's on because I kind of want to say to his
and
face.
then you got to know him, and you were like, "Boy, was I wrong."
Then I got to know him, and I was like, "What in the world? What's with this guy?" You know? No, but seriously, great guy. He has a lot to contribute, I think, to our conversation about the lives of PKs and stuff, and his perspective is unique, and that's why we wanted him on. So let's bring him on and get into it. Welcome. Hey, Bobby.
Oh, we got confetti.
Let's go.
Hold on. Did you put your own confetti?
Let's go. Come on.
That's the best. We need to make that a requirement for the show. If you don't have your own theme song, you're not invited.
What's up, y'all?
So hold on. Tell us about this studio. What's happening? I know nothing about your life.
What you mean?
What's going on back there?
That's what we're gonna start with. We're gonna start with what he does for a living.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not a Christmas tree. It's a regular tree, and I got some fairy lights on there. It's a regular plant, but I got some fairy lights. It's what we call ambiance.
Yeah. We have a green screen with the wrong background on it.
Yeah.
My office is too multi-purpose for that and making excuses. But that's dope. But Bobby's on, and we'll ask you about your work here in just a second. But Bobby's on like Zoom or whatever, like professionally. Like this is what he does. So
like on Zoom,
I got
dude.
all this stuff hooked up. You don't use. What do you use? What platform do you use?
Well, I mean, if y'all can be on StreamYard, I mean, at least give me a little like height in this. I mean, a little professional. Put some little professional respect on my stuff, man.
Yeah. He's on Google
Zoom. Google Hangouts. How about that?
Google Hangouts. No, but what platform do you use?
I use all of them. I do use Zoom sometimes. I really do.
Okay.
Because organizations hire me to do virtual training sometimes, and so Zoom is what they have, or they might have Microsoft Teams. But if I'm going live, Ecamm Live is my back end for most stuff. We stream through StreamYard, or Restream is what I stream through most often. But yeah,
you like Restream better than Ecamm?
Oh, it's not a better than. It's a both and. I use them for different things. So Ecamm is a local software that I can stream to multiple platforms from, but of course that means I've got some load on my computer, so the computer can stream to the different platforms. Restream is on the web, and so I allow the Restream platform on the web to handle the load itself. And one of the reasons I don't get rid of Restream is because if I'm doing a show and I don't feel like being there that day, or if I'm traveling or something like that, I could boot up a prior episode or a movie or whatever, and I can just schedule it to play and go live at a specific time, and I don't have to be there to say, hey, boom, click the button.
So you're better at this than we are, is what you're saying?
Yes, actually, no, playing. No.
Well, we do that with his self intro, like, you know what I'm saying?
That's what you seemed.
We're playing a video. This dude has sound effects and
right. I want that now. Like you need to train us. We need some of your virtual training.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a lot of what I do. I mean, part of it is that I just love tech, messing with tech stuff. So that's a piece of it, but it's also, especially since the pandemic happened. I mean, I have this course online called Get Studio Savvy where I walk through what my setup was before the pandemic and now. So total shift and change. Everybody was home. We were like trying to figure things out. And so my wife and my bookkeeper didn't like it. But
do you do studio makeovers?
I have. It's not a service that I offer out front, but I've done several of them. And
do you enjoy them?
I enjoy them enough. I would say that it depends on who it is. If there are people that are like, yeah, we want what you have, but we've got like $1.27.
Okay, what can I do with this?
I'm like, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
I am in Beltsville, Maryland.
Oh, so just hop in the car.
Yeah.
I have 3 now.
There's in Laurel.
So
who lives in Laurel?
Claire does.
Are you lying to me?
Yeah. It's been less than a year, but yeah, I live like 5 minutes from John.
What part of Laurel is that?
North.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to give me the
Fulton.
address online, but North Laurel. Okay.
Napalon area.
Oh, okay.
That's like my grocery store and CVS and.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did I not know that? Okay.
I mean, I
it's new and Claire doesn't talk to people, so
Yes.
And here's the
Okay.
reason why I did that. Honestly, it's too many people.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of work telling all the people what's happening in your life. So I was just like, as I see people, I'm gonna just tell them, hey, I live there now, so I'm seeing you now for the first time.
Yeah. Part of the blessing of being a PK, knowing all these people.
Exactly.
Or people feeling like they know you, but you're like, huh? Hi, hey, how you doing? Tell your parents I said, hey. Yeah, sure. Okay. Who was that? Yeah.
So let's get into these questions.
Talk about your work. So you tell us. You mentioned your platform a couple times, and you have courses and stuff like that. What do you do for a living?
I run a training company. So Kinetic Communications is my company, and we train small business owners, small business or business leaders how to communicate and connect more effectively, both online and on video, so that they can create better, more influence and get more visibility and connect with their people more effectively.
So, but essentially, your setup is a professional ad set. I mean, that's one of the things that you use to demonstrate how to do what people should do when you're giving training.
Well, that's a part of it. But if I'm going to go in and do a session, I can't show up looking the same like everybody else. I mean, somebody has to come in from the outside and be able to say, that guy is the trainer. That guy is the leader in this space. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's why you got the flight, the airplane pilot chair and all of that. Like you look like a
gamer.
That's just a gaming chair.
Yeah, man. It's like you look like the most comfortable person on earth right now.
I am. So you know what's really cool about the fact it's a gaming chair? You're like it's a pilot, but if you look at it from this angle, it's like it does look like a cockpit. But
there's a camera back there. You just wanted to show us that.
I did. It was a humble brag, light flex. Sorry.
Right. Well, that's why I said pilot, because you had it on that other view when you were backstage, and I saw it, and I was like, that looks totally different. The chair looks totally different. Obviously, we can't really see the chair right now, but yeah, that's dope.
How did you get into that? Like, so we spoke to Sheldon. Sheldon Kennedy was maybe a couple episodes. No, he was a lot of episodes
towards the beginning. Actually. He was like third or something.
And that's Bobby's youngest brother. And Sheldon is also you're not in the same area, but you're both in multimedia type stuff. So how did you get into what you're getting into? When we knew you in Massachusetts, when you were at AUC, is this what you were studying?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I was a biology major.
Of course.
Were you really?
Yes. I was a biology major. I was a biology major, and then in my junior year, I took on history as a second major. So I have 2 undergrads in bio and history.
How are those working out for you?
I don't use them at all. Yeah, but I did teach science for a little bit, and so I did that, and I think it works from a storytelling perspective. A lot of the examples that I might use, or the perspective or the lens that I look at things through, I do bring in a scientific perspective on it, or some of the data or the proof that I might use may be scientific in the way that I approach it.
So it affected the way that you think. It affected your worldview, basically. That's big. That's
well,
important.
I don't know if the courses did. I mean, I think they may have built on it, but I don't know if it affected it in that it made it that way. So when I was in high school, I took one of those career inventory exams, and it said that I would be good in 2 fields: electrical engineering and communications. And so, of course, I went to school and did biology because that just made sense, right? And so part of that was, I mean, I think back in the generation before us, there were only a few careers that were acceptable or that you could defend to your parents, right? So you could be a doctor or something in the medical field. You could be a teacher, maybe. And my dad was a pastor, so you could be a pastor. Or lawyers were liars, so you really couldn't do that either. So although it was recognized, but so that I did not know how to say to my parents, "Hey, I want to do a communication degree." Okay, what you going to do with that? I don't know. Communicate.
Right.
So your interest was always in what you're doing now.
I didn't know it was, but yeah, that's been the through line, the common thread through everything that I've done. So funny story, not funny, but weird. When I graduated from college, I was already working in the mental health space. I had a job my senior year and I just continued doing it. Every day when I would drive to work, I would pass by this building, and for some reason, the building just kept calling my attention. I didn't really recognize why it was, but I said, I'm going to stop in that building one day. It was a radio station. There was this radio station in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. I just kept driving by it, and I was like, okay. So one day, I decided I was going to stop, and I stopped, and I walked into the radio station, and I went to the receptionist, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to speak to the owner, please." And she said, "Oh, okay. Who should I tell him is here?" I said, "Tell him Robert Kennedy's here." And so he comes out. He's like, "Oh, okay." And he's looking. I said, and he sees me. And so we have this long conversation. And he's like, "Yeah, you have a good voice. You've got a good tool. You got a good instrument. We can do some different things." So I started interning as a news anchor at the radio station. Wow. And I did that for a little bit. And then one day he offered me the job to be the news anchor of the radio station. He said, "You got to wake up at 3:30, and you got to be in, get stuff done, and be on for the 5 a.m. broadcast. And then you should be done by about 11 or 12. And oh, by the way, your pay is $6 an hour." I was like, "Deuces, I got to go."
Wow.
But that was like the wrong decision. If I had that decision to make over, I would accept it.
Really?
Yeah.
You said that was the wrong decision. That's a strong thing to say.
That wasn't the decision that I should have made at the time.
Tell me more, say more.
Well, because I made that decision out of fear.
Okay.
I made the decision because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got a car." I at that time I had a 1992 black Acura Integra chromed out rims.
I remember that car.
Tinted. Yeah. So
I remember that's before you wrapped it around the tree, right?
No. I wrapped the the Ford Escort around the tree.
Escort, like that green thing, the green Escort,
the green Escort, the Yard Boy Mobile. Yeah, that was the one that hit the tree. The Ford, the Acura Integra, that was my joint right there. So
that thing was sweet, man.
Yeah, I love the car, but you're flossing, you're doing different things. I'm getting more involved in music. At that point, I'm kind of starting to write and do different things. But I made the decision because I didn't see how I could support myself and still do some of the things that I wanted. And it was like a lack of faith on my part at that point. But I know that if I had that decision to do over, I would have taken it. And, I don't know what God does or what God's plans are with our lives. I don't believe there's one way our life has to go. I think God makes stuff out of our mess. And he kind of brings us back around to where we should have been. But I would have done that different.
So reflecting on it, you're saying, I hear you saying, I'm just trying to interpret that decision for you was primarily financial
and fear. It was even more than financial. I didn't feel like I had enough experience. I didn't know, because what happened was when I was doing the internship, there was another news anchor there. He decided that he was going to move upstate New York to take another gig. And so I'd have been the only one there. And I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can handle. So all of that's in my head, and on top of that is $6 an hour. I mean, I could have taken another job technically to supplement that. But I just, I made the fear decision.
How old were you?
Like 22.
So how do we? Because 22, you were a baby.
Yeah.
That's so young, and I was getting ready to say that.
Yeah,
So
and-
I teach my students now, and I work in higher education. I teach my students now that the age you are, most people, when you graduate college, is really young, and it's
Yeah.
young enough to pivot. It's young enough to do some other stuff. It's young enough to make some choices. Young enough to take a gap year or whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually tell people, and this is true, I do a lot of hiring in my just in my work in general, and 22 is almost too young to hire for me. Almost, not quite, but almost. Like that's like intern age.
Yep.
Even if you have a degree, I'm not really hiring a 22-year-old. So
you're barely out of your teenage years. Like barely.
Yeah, you got time to do some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
but I didn't know that.
If you're open to it.
I didn't know that because I mean, I don't know if you all have experienced this, but in the era that our parents grew up in, the mindset that I had was like, oh, you pick this one thing and you do that joint for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Sure.
And so I did not understand that, I could have seasons of stuff in life. I could change, I could switch, I could be like, yeah, I don't want to do that no more. Let me study this and do that. And so when I was having those feelings, I was ashamed of those and I didn't know how to say that to my parents.
Wow.
And so, with our kids now, the message that we've said to them is, hey, listen, when some of our kids, not just my kids, but kids that we meet, they're like, yeah, I'm not certain. I'm not sure of what I want to do. I'm like, you're 18, you're 20, you're 22. You're not supposed to. It's okay.
Right.
And you meet them at church, right? And they try to have these conversations to make it sound like they got it together. I'm like, dude, you're not supposed to have it together. It's okay. I give you permission to be a mess right now. It's okay. Right. So,
and I kind of feel like on that line, Bobby, I kind of feel like we trap kids a lot of times, or young people, I should say, with the question, right? The question, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
It's a very common question, and way more people, and this is what I tell my students, way more people answer that question than people that should answer that question. A lot of people just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Way more people just say, I don't know, or I'm not sure yet, or whatever. Most of us, we have an answer, and it might be canned, it might be whatever, but most of us have an answer.
Yeah.
And I think we need to we need to normalize not knowing yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I said that to my son several months ago. He was saying he wanted to do a certain career. And when I sat with him, I said, well, if you want to do this, how come you're not like searching around stuff that would indicate you're interested in that?
Right.
And he said, well, I just said it because it was something that made sense. And I said, listen, you don't have to do that for us. Right. You don't have to do that for me. What I want for you at this point is to experiment and mess with as much stuff and experience as much. Listen, you say to me, I wanna be a garbage man, daddy. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me see who I know that's a garbage man that you could talk to that can mentor you about garbage manning, right? And so
you would do a ride along with a garbage man or something. See what it's like and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Maybe you'll find your passion in that. I just want you to be to think, okay, let me try this thing. And if you say, I tried this and I don't like it anymore. Okay, cool. What's next? Let's make a list. 1, 2, 3, 4. You do 2. Right. Okay, cool.
So 2 things. The first thing is, Bobby, your eyes are fantastic. Congratulations. The second thing is, I'm thinking to myself, because we were born when we were born.
Yeah.
We grew up in the time that we grew up, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Could things have gone a different way given when and where we grew up? Now, my parents are and always have been extremely supportive.
Yeah.
But I never heard them say, it's okay if you don't know yet.
I think when you just said it is the first time I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that's not language that I grew up with. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if I had heard that one time, it would have completely freed me. Freed me. And I'm just like, I don't think it could have happened.
Right.
So I don't know. Like I appreciate that the generation that we have now has way more choice. They have all the choices, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah.
They literally have all the choices. And they don't know anything else though. They don't know how. I think sometimes you don't recognize what you have because you've had it all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I recognize it because I'm like, I wasn't that free as a kid.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel jailed either, but I didn't feel that freedom either.
Yeah.
Just to kind of explore and do whatever. And And I'm wondering, like, where would I have gone? What would I have done? What path would I have taken if I had been told, you don't have to know yet?
Yeah.
Right.
Or
The funny
explore,
thing
try
is,
some stuff out.
I don't know if you've had these conversations with your parents, but I've had some with mine, more particularly my mom, not my dad. And my mom was like, yeah, when we were growing up, you could only do like 2 or 3 things. And she says, if I had freedom to do this, I would have done this. I would have done it.
Wow.
And we're like, what? Oh, what's up with these?
Why?
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Yay!
Sorry.
Is
July
your
4th. Okay.
okay.
And my mom is like,
Skynet? What's happening? Like, what is
my mom is like, yeah, there's some stuff that she might have pursued a little bit differently if she had been freed mentally to have some of these things. And like you, my parents didn't say, oh, you have to become a doctor. Oh, you have to do this. But we also, maybe as PKs, and I think here's where the PK thing lines up. Because you were under the microscope, you were afraid to do things that would then cause people to point at you and your family and your parents and say, aha, they messed up.
Right.
Aha, they're a failure. They're just kind of out here flopping around. They don't know. Yeah. And so protecting the family name is kind of, or the legacy or the reputation is something that is kind of put on our shoulders. And as PKs, you kind of go, one of 2 ways. Either you're like, yes, I'm going to toe the line, or you're like, I'm just going to go buck wild and go the other way. And people, that's all a part of the story, the landscape here.
So we're gonna take a commercial break here in just a second, but I want to ask you one question. We haven't really asked any questions. We're just kind of talking, but that led to that. What you just said kind of leads to one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because your perspective is pretty unique, right? So you're West Indian family, the oldest of 3 boys, and then when you guys met, when our families met, it was almost like 5 boys because we were in your house all the time. So you're almost like the oldest brother of 5 boys in a way.
Yeah,
and
then there was Claire.
Of course,
yeah,
Claire too. Claire didn't hang with us like that though.
I don't remember ever going to your house.
Yeah,
you were there. I mean, you came through sometime, but it was like not. It wasn't like when your brothers came. It was like when we had family lunch or whatever. You were kind of like the add-on, the +2 or whatever, the +1. With your parents. So
we lived over there. But so I'm asking about. I want to ask about the pressure, right? Because your position is very unique. Did you ever feel like you were pressured, and maybe you wouldn't have said it like that at the time, but in looking back on it, did you ever feel pressure to perform or to represent or to be a model or anything like that because of that unique position as the oldest and West Indian and PK and all those things together? Did that kind of add any pressure for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, there were times where I got in trouble just because I was the oldest, right? Because I didn't redirect my brothers from doing foolishness, and I happened to be in the room. So, I got, there were times you should be the role model. I got some of that stuff. Not just from parents, but from other people as well. And y'all have heard you shouldn't do that. You're the pastor's kid. You should know better. You're the pastor's kid. Oh, if y'all do that, I'm gonna tell your father, right? And so all of those things are messages, seeds that you dropping into this little kid's brain, and anything that this child does, he's got that stuff rattling around in there, whether consciously or subconsciously, and that colors our fear mechanism and how we decide to do certain things, or the decision-making process that we have or that we take towards certain things. So that was always there.
So did that impact you? Like, did you ever feel pressure to specifically go into ministry, for example, or to kind of follow the family legacy in that way professionally?
I don't know that I felt pressure. I mean, there was the question asked, are you going to be a pastor like your dad? Right. I never felt from my parents like, oh, you should because your dad, or I didn't feel that from my family. And I think I felt more questions about it as I got older, partly because when I was younger, I didn't talk that much. So I was a lot more quiet. I mean, you guys got maybe the part of my life where I was just starting to speak a bit, like all through elementary, all through
You were pretty quiet when we met you, though. You didn't talk a lot even then.
Right, but that's kind of just coming out. Just coming out of that, right? And so I spoke when I needed to, By the time you met me, I was in a stage where I realized that in order to do certain things, in order to accomplish what I wanted, I had to put myself out there and talk a little bit more. So I don't know if I had my music group when we first met. But that was something that I would never have done, maybe even a couple of years before that. But it was just kind of this light bulb came on, this switch came on, and God spoke, and he was like, yeah, you're a leader. You need to do blah, 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 blah. And so as much fear as I had inside of me, I clenched my fist and did some stuff. I mean, this story, quick story that I don't know that I would ever done. And I look back at now and I'm like, my gosh, I can't believe I did that. So my sophomore year of college, went home for the summer, and we were in Canada. We were living in Canada at this point. And I came back over the summer. I decided that I wanted to start a musical group. I came back, and most people come back and say they're going to start a group, and they meet in the dorm or the cafeteria and they practice, and then they sing at Singspiration or whatever. I decided that I was going to go into the office of advancement and tell them I was starting this group, and we wanted to do recruiting for the college, and we wanted to sing for them, and that they needed to buy us a keyboard in order to do that. Right? And so they were like, oh, how much does the keyboard cost? And so this keyboard was like $2,000.
Jeez.
I know they didn't buy no $2,000 keyboard.
They bought a $2,000 keyboard.
Unbelievable.
Right? And they hadn't heard the group sing. We didn't do nothing yet. We didn't do nothing yet. So I come back to school in August. I have this conversation at the end of August before the group starts to practice.
Wow.
Right? And so they were like, okay, yeah, cool. So then we get the keyboard. I'm starting to write music and sequencing stuff and programming music, and we start traveling around for the school. And we're not just singing on campus. We're singing in New York. We're singing in Ohio. We're singing in Michigan. We're traveling. We're little kids, essentially 18, and they're renting cars for us. They're renting like vans, 15 passenger vans for us to drive to these places. You can't do that now.
No.
No. So
somebody would be pregnant before you got to the destination.
Right. Right. So I mean, it was a great time, but I mean, I just kind of looked at like, who was that dude? Where did that courage come from?
Yeah, John said the name of the group was Simply His.
Yes,
we remember
it was.
We remember vividly.
Yeah.
So we really got to take our commercial break. But he just said you worked magic with that keyboard. So that was our perspective. And again, Claire was let me think. If I was like 13, Claire would have been like 10.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
Right. So she wasn't hanging out with us, but we were. It was actually more a little bit later. I was like 14 or whatever, 15.
Yeah.
But we would come to Friday Night Singspiration all the time. We were there every week, pretty much. And Bobby's group, Simply His. I don't know if they sang every week, but it felt like they sang every week. You know what I'm saying? So there was Vespers, and then after Vespers, we would kind of retire to one of the side rooms.
Yeah.
And it was just an hour or two of people singing.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you know better than me. I was very young. I don't really have a very clear memory of the structure of it, but it seemed unstructured. It seemed like people just going in there, getting on the keyboard and kind of freestyling stuff.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what it was? Or was there actual program?
we would just sing. I mean, we would just that's what you do in college. I mean, it finishes like 9 o'clock. You ain't had nothing else to do.
Yeah. It was crazy.
The cafeteria was closed. You had your Cinnabons or whatever, your sweet rolls. And so it was incredible. So our first, of course, we had no idea that you were quiet and shy and all that kind of stuff before that. But our first, obviously we saw you around the house, but our first introduction to you was from a musical perspective. Like we knew you as a musician first. Was that ever a thought? Well, we got to take this break. Was that ever a thought for professional work for you? Yes.
To go into music?
Don't answer that. To answer that after the commercial break, but also during the commercial break, think about. I want to know where, because you just said, where did that courage come from? I want you to give me an answer to that when we come back from our break, because I want to know.
Yeah, I do too. All right, quick commercial. We'll be right back.
Happy belated birthday, Paul. What did you do to celebrate this year?
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, it was on the weekend. Usually I take the day off work, so since my birthday wasn't on a work day this year, I took the whole next week off.
Yeah. Did you get any special gifts?
Actually, yeah, I did. My wife got me something from There's a Sweet, Sweet Incense. It's the only fragrance outlet that creates special biblical-themed scents for your personal and professional enjoyment.
Scents such as morning gratitude. Sniff the air before you scrape the crust from your eyes.
Midday repentance. Take a whiff while in deep prayer.
Evening supplication. This one's snortable.
Sacrificial lamb. You can eat it after you burn it.
Just mention Club PK, that's CLUBPK, to the life-size statue of Isaiah vomiting out your meaningless offering, and gain exclusive access to the hidden room where all of these special Christian-themed scents are stored.
That's right. Just mention Club PK, that's CLUBPK, to the life-size statue of Isaiah vomiting out your meaningless offering, and gain exclusive access to the hidden room where all of these special Christian-themed scents are stored.
There's a sweet, sweet incense, a sweet-smelling aroma from your home to his nostrils. Oh my God.
Y'all brains don't work right. I mean,
He said, he said you can eat it.
oh my gosh.
We barely made it to that thing. That was like take 5, and we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. Oh my goodness.
All right. That's good.
That was fun.
Okay.
Thank you to our sponsors. We were so
Yes.
grateful for our sponsors.
Sweet incense.
Keeping the lights on. Hey, if our sponsors, any sponsors are watching right now or watching the replay, we got a lot of people watching the replay. Actually, most of our audience watches the replay. So if our sponsors watch it later, look at Bobby's setup. We want that for ourselves. That's what we want. in our studios. I want the chair. I like my mic, but I want the chair. I like the lights in the background, all that kind of stuff. I want the sound effect machine. What's that? What are you using for your sound effects?
The Rodecaster Pro, that's one thing, but I mean, I use other software as well. So if I say something smart, then I'll be like, hold on. If I say something smart, then I'll be like, oh, I guess y'all didn't hear that. Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm like, what's happening?
Hold on. One second. Hold on. I'll fix it. Let me let you hear what I was saying. So I was saying sometimes if I say something smart, hold on, let's get the audio connected properly. Okay. There we go. Yeah. So if I say something smart, then I'll be like,
I still don't hear it.
you still don't hear it? Okay, never mind. We'll try it later. I switched my mic. It's all right. Snortable.
So we've used a Rodecaster before. My dad has one that we borrowed. But in addition to a Rodecaster, you have actual software that does sound effects instead of a device.
Yeah. So there's another software that I use called Farrago, which has a lot of different sound effects that it can hold inside of it, like pretty unlimited actually. So
really,
yeah.
We ain't got it, Paul. Because I see what you're doing. We ain't got it.
Oh, you see exactly what I'm doing.
We ain't got it.
Yeah,
we ain't got it in the account. We need to sell more books.
I'm just
buy our book.
I'm just
guys,
saving it right now. I'll look at it
person.
later.
Yeah.
God is a
so
person.
Let me get you all in trouble with YouTube really quickly. Hold on one second. I'm not your woman. I'm not a man. I'm something that you never understand. I never beat you. All right, sorry. I was just getting y'all in trouble.
Thank you.
I feel like if we do less than 30 seconds, we're okay. Isn't that right? Or something like that.
No, I think if it's not the actual track.
Yeah, I can sing it.
So things that we're okay.
Yeah, as long as it's not the recorded. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I want to know where your courage came from.
First question.
Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ. I don't know the exact answer to it. I think sometimes in life, when you become consumed with something, you don't really care about the other stuff. And at that point, I was consumed with not just music, but doing something that was bubbling up inside of me regarding music. So some of that was leadership. So the year before that, here's what happened. My freshman year, I was in the basement of Preston Hall where they had BCU choir practice. And there was this guy named Jerome Spears. I don't know if y'all remember that name, but
I remember that name.
Jerome, yeah.
he came down. He was a chaplain at AUC at the time. And he came downstairs, and I was packing up the keyboard that the choir used, and we were kind of messing around with a few things. And after everyone left, it was just me, and I'm packing up the keyboard, and he was standing back there, and he was kind of looking at me. And I just felt like, why is this dude like being creepy, just looking. So as I'm packing up, he came slowly to the front, and he said, "Hey, Bobby, I don't know, I just been led to share this with you." He said, "I see you on the keyboard, and I see you playing stuff, but there's something that leads me to believe that you should not be behind the keyboard. You should be out in front of it." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I mean, there's some people that are on the microphone. There's some other people doing some stuff. And there's something that's leaking out of you that tells me that there's a leadership aspect to you. And I don't know what that looks like, but I was just led to tell you that." And I sat with that for like a year.
Wow.
And I didn't know what that would look like. But then during that summer after my sophomore year, I was in Canada. And that summer, my dad, they came back down because my dad had gotten the call to come to AUC at the time. So they left me in Canada. And I was colportering that summer. Because they were like, "Yeah, you should sell books. You should get a summer job." So I was like doing that. But when I was doing that, for some reason, all of a sudden, I'd always written poems around the house. I'd always my mom would tell me that she would find little napkins or little pieces of paper with some poetry lines scribbled on it, just like trashed around the house. And she knew it was me. And so I had never really pulled things together. But that summer, for some reason, songs, music just was coming to me, and I was writing. That summer I wrote probably like 50 something songs, and I just wrote them, right? But I didn't have a keyboard. I didn't have anything to put it down on. It was just in my head. And so when I came back, I was like, I gotta get a keyboard. I gotta have some place, a pad, some place to document this stuff. And funny thing, I lost the notebook on my way back from Canada.
With all the stuff in it?
All the stuff in it. I lost it.
I know you were sick.
I was sick.
Oh my God.
I was sick. But the thing is, the music kept coming.
Right.
It kept coming. And I was like, I can't just go down to the auditorium and play on the piano down there. I gotta have some place to put it. Gotta have a hard drive. And so that was kind of the genesis behind, okay, how can I get a keyboard? Okay, get a group. Oh, okay. Let's do that thing. And so that's where all of that came from.
Give me a great keyboard.
Yeah, so I was consumed with making that happen.
So why did you not do that? Why did you not go into that professionally?
Because again, fear, and another thing that I don't know that our parents' generation understood in that way. For my parents, like if you're professionally pursuing being a musician, then you got to go learn the organ and get a salaried gig at a church somewhere. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to play. I want to be creative. I want to do some other stuff. As a matter of fact, now that I'm sequencing stuff, now that I'm recording stuff in these keyboards and these synthesizers, sounds super old. But now that I'm doing that, I want to get more involved in music production. And so after college, I had actually looked into a production program at Berklee College of Music. But again, you got to live, you got to pay some bills. I was living in my own apartment after that. And so, I did the logical or the sensible thing.
Was there anyone around? Did you share this with anybody? Did anybody know?
No, not fully. And again, you remember, I'm just starting to talk to people.
Yeah.
Right. So anything that was in my brain, and so my parents now to this day, I mean, we just had some conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I said to my mom, yeah, I would have loved to do this. And she's like, how would we have known? You just didn't talk. You didn't say nothing. You were just quiet. We were picking straws, trying to throw stuff in your direction, put it on the table, hope you'd eat it so that, we could figure out what you wanted to do. And that was, my parents suggested a bunch of stuff. They were like, hey, you should try law school. Hey, you should try this. You should try that. I didn't know how to make it make sense. And my succumbing to fear at that point in my life caused me to stay inside here and not figure out how to talk to people, because I didn't know that anybody would support my dreams if it didn't make sense to them, or if it didn't seem like this thing that would be sustainable, make money, and blah, blah, blah.
Did you ever overcome that? Are there still opportunities for you to share parts of yourself that you're afraid people won't understand, and so you hold it in? Is that still a thing?
Not as much. Not as much. There's still remnants. There's still moments where and I think it looks different when you get older, right? Sometimes you turn fear into rationalization. And so you talk yourself out of some stuff and you're like, yeah, no, I didn't do that because it didn't make sense. Here's the logical path, and this, and you talk yourself out of stuff. So I still think there are moments where I look at that, but now I'm also at the place where I have the awareness, right? You hit 50 and you're kind of like, okay, I can look at life a little bit differently, and I can dissect why I made that decision or why I'm feeling that way. So yeah.
How many
We were
children?
talking a little bit earlier about how, our children and your kids are older than mine, but how the next generation basically doesn't have a lot of the same restrictions, I guess, on their mindsets, so they have a lot more freedom. In terms of this particular aspect, in terms of sort of trying new stuff and reaching out to people and speaking up, are you able to kind of feed some of that into your kids and help them be a little freer than you have been?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I have, and I think they've taken on to some of it, but I think just like our parents thought that they were doing the best for us, I'm sure there's some stuff that I think I'm doing the best for them, and then when they hit 25, they're gonna be like, yeah, Dad, so, but speaking up, leading when you have the opportunity, that's one of the things if you can run for a class office, run for it. Right? Because the people that are visible get certain opportunities that other people don't. And so, I mean, I was looking at some stuff that you had sent before the show, and you were asking about what are some of the benefits of being a PK. Man, one of the best benefits of being a PK was getting to cut to the front of the line at potluck.
Yeah. And those lines used to be long too.
Yeah, you ain't never lied. That's a great benefit, because you'd be hungry. Everybody hungry at the church.
Yeah,
I always have a good plate.
Oh yeah, let the pastor's kid come up. Let them get. Yes, thank you.
We'd be the smallest people in the room with good plates. Everybody else with little tiny plates of the line.
Right. So I say to my kids, hey, if you have the opportunity to do something that creates visibility for you, there are plus and minuses on that. And when you if you're visible and you mess up, people are gonna be like, but you also have the opportunity to influence. You have the opportunity to have people share stuff with you that they wouldn't ordinarily share if you were not visible. So I'll take that. How
many children do you have?
I got 3. My daughter is about to graduate from college, so I've got 21, 19, and 17.
Jeez.
We gotta have her over again. She came to the house last semester. She was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And this is not a PK question. I'm just curious. Have you ever shared with your children moments when you were afraid? Have you ever said to them, "Man, I'm scared"?
Like, I'm scared now, or scared like when I was scared?
No, in the moment. If you have a decision to make and you're afraid of the decision, have you ever shared that with your children? Moments when you were struggling with fear, like in the moment.
I've shared with them struggles. I don't know if I've shared with them moments where I'm afraid, because I don't know that as an adult, I've identified it as fear immediately. I think as I look back, because as parents, you try to show up in a certain way for your kids. As a dad, as a husband, as the air quotes protector of my family, I still may have bought into the patriarchy. I don't know, and still view myself as having the role of showing up a certain way. And so in moments, in making decisions, I'm still kind of like, yeah, let's do that. Or if we're not going to do it, here's why we're not doing it. But then later on, I'm sitting down, I'm like, wait a minute. That wasn't because you were exercising wisdom. That was because you were afraid of doing that thing. Right. And part of my fear comes from not because I'm afraid of doing it, but I do fear putting my family in danger. I do fear people being hurt because of me.
Legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not a silly fear at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to suggest that you just tell
I didn't take
every
that.
time you're scared.
Yeah.
And I also think that kids, depending on how old they are, they can't handle. They may not be able to handle it yet.
Yeah.
Their parent being afraid of something.
Yeah.
I think the older children get, the more they can take on. But I was just curious because I'm listening to you talk, and I've kind of asked a version of this question a couple of times already. But I'm wondering who your village is. Like, who do you talk to? Because I don't know.
Who advocates for Bobby?
Sometimes I feel for Black men, and I'm like, who are y'all talking to?
Yeah,
and I got a bunch of people I can talk to.
And that's tough.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
my daughter tells me, my daughter says I have no friends. But she then caveats and says, you don't have no friends outside of your brothers. And it's true. My brothers are like my closest confidants. They're the people that I can be regular. I don't have to have any mask on. I can be that way with my brothers. I can be vulnerable with my brothers. I do have other friends in my village, and there are times where, because I am viewed in many circles as the leader, I feel, I don't want to use the word pressure, but I feel the desire to lead things, or I don't want something to fall on the ground, or I don't want people to suffer by themselves. So I'll text, I'll call, I'll form the community, I'll lead that thing. And sometimes I lead things because it's what I need.
Right. Yeah.
And nobody else is starting that thing. So I'm like, I know I need this. So let me just get a group of people together and let's do it.
So you have to advocate for yourself. In those, yeah. I kind of feel like, and obviously you're welcome to disagree with what I'm about to say, but I kind of feel like that might be, because I feel similar, right? I kind of feel like that might be part of the PK journey, maybe for guys more than girls. I don't know, but I'm similar to what you just described. Like I'm not likely to go find help. I'm much more likely to create a mechanism that will provide the help that I'm looking for. That's kind of been my experience. And I think I'm just realizing that I do that because you said it. Like, I don't think I even knew I did that before this moment. But I could have said exactly what you just said. I could have described that exact same thing. I do the same thing, Yeah, and Claire just said a minute ago she has a bunch of people she can talk to. So I wonder if that's a gender thing.
Well, I wonder. For me, I remember what it was like when I couldn't talk to anyone. So I've had both experiences.
Right.
And I think I started making friends based on, can I talk to this? Can I share with this person something that I couldn't share with anybody else? Because I was starting to feel like I was going to explode. And I didn't want to explode. I was like, I got to get some of this stuff. And I used to write a lot too. And eventually writing wasn't helping anymore. I was like, okay, this ain't doing it. So what are some other things I can do? And I think that kind of ingenuity is important. I think it's a gift. I think it's a strength. But I also know what it feels like to be the strong friend. I'm always the one reaching out. And I'm like, well, dang, who's checking up on me? Who's so I've been to a couple of funerals lately. And both times, and I think this is the first time this has happened in my adult life, because I've been to tons of funerals. I'm so tired of funerals. But anyway, both these last two funerals I went to, there was a moment during the weekend of services where I said to myself, dang, nobody's checking on me. I was like, I'm the one making sure everybody's okay. And I was like, dang, I really wish somebody would say something. Like
Yeah.
I'm here too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let me share with you that exact experience, but even deeper. During the pandemic, people home, etc. I'm kind of disconnected from my church community a little bit. And so I decided that, God, if you put somebody's name on my heart, I'm going to call them or text them. So I was doing that, calling people, texting people, calling people, texting people. Nobody called me. Nobody texted me. I always had to initiate that. And one day I said to God, I said, God, you keep putting these people's names on my heart to call and text. Since I'm not receiving any calls and texts, does that mean you're not putting my name on anybody's heart?
Oh, wow.
Wow. Right. And I was kind of in pity mode for a little bit. Right. Yeah. And, I shared that with one of the pastors at my church, like when we were able to stand out, and he just looked at me and he shook his head and he said, Bobby, he said, there are two things inside of that. Number one, because you are who you are, everybody thinks you're okay.
Right.
And then the second piece of that is not that people, God hasn't put your name on anybody's heart. You just happen to be obedient.
Wow. Wow.
And so I was like, man, that still don't make me feel good, but
right.
I still wanted to go.
But it gives some clarity.
It gave clarity, but it also caused it. I was able to throw that up and vomit that for a minute, and then then got back to a place where, like, everybody's got stuff going on. Our world is hard, is difficult, and God has gifted some people to be relational in that way. And, the introvert piece of me, for the introvert piece of me, it's hard, but I recognize that I also desire people to have a certain experience, especially if they're in my community or my village. Yeah. I want them to have a certain I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel valued as much as I can. Am I perfect at it? No, but that's my desire. And so, I step over and I step past my discomfort a little bit and do that.
So you're an introvert. Sheldon's an introvert. Is Leighton an introvert too?
Don't tell Sheldon I said this.
Sheldon's not an introvert.
I don't believe that he's really an introvert.
Now Sheldon said that about himself.
I know he
said about himself.
He said that. I don't believe him. Don't tell him.
Sheldon just don't like a lot of people.
You don't like people. Yeah, that's different. That's very different.
That's funny. What were you about to say, Paul?
I was gonna say, and I'm looking at the clock. We're actually out of time, but you brought up something, man. I can't just not say something.
Yeah,
just the idea that it's so powerful, man. The idea that if we're supposed to be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ on earth, and we're not obedient to what he's asking us to do, it's possible that the gaps are our fault.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because we're not showing up. If we're supposed to, God said show up and we don't show up and nobody shows up, that's on us.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, there should have been somebody there. That's you, homie. You're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That was your assignment that you, because again, I think the pastor that you said, that makes a lot of sense. God said to somebody, call Bobby, and they were just like, nah, or they didn't hear him or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Or they put it off.
It's
they
not
said
God,
later and
it's not
forgot.
God. It's not God not looking out for you. It's somebody not taking the assignment.
Yeah.
Which is powerful, man. Like, we have responsibility to do stuff. I think that's another thing about being, you talk about the benefits of being a PK. I feel like that's a benefit. When we have these, because our dads are such, studiers, you know what I mean? They're so in the text and so in the word and so driven by their relationship with Jesus Christ in a very sincere way. And of course, we see it around the house. They're not just the guys who stand up front on Sabbath and talk.
Right.
They're actually these guys all week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then our takeaway as PKs is you know, it actually makes sense to live a life that's devoted to Christ, not just be this person on one day of the week. It actually makes sense to have this as the foundation of your whole life. So I think that's definitely a benefit. And again, I think a takeaway that we can like interpret stuff like this in terms of how it looks for the Christian community, because we kind of have an inside look at it.
Yeah.
Even though none of us are in the business, so to speak. You know, I think that's a benefit of growing up that way.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Paul, and I think whenever I hear about people who grew up in the church and are no longer in the church, or who are in the church but they're living lifestyles that are not spiritually led or whatever, and I hear people talking about people like that, my first thought is always, well, why didn't they stay?
Right.
Where's their community?
Right.
It's not just that people woke up one day and decided to do whatever. Like, there's probably a history of neglect.
Something failed
from the church community. So I'm like, look at yourself. Like, what did you not do? What call from the Lord did you ignore that led to this person now going to find what they should be finding in their spiritual community? They went to go find it outside of their spiritual community because their spiritual community was not providing it.
Right.
Like, period. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm fussing on this show. I'm always fussing.
Somebody gotta.
That's your personality. That's your role.
To fuss?
On the show.
Okay.
You're the fusser. I'm the
I'm
the jokester.
You're the what?
The jokester.
I want Bobby to answer this trivia question.
Okay.
Yes, trivia. We're out of time. We'll do trivia and we're gonna sign off. But trivia question. Here we go.
Question number 8 is good too. Let me ask question number 8, and
Let's
then we'll
do
ask
that.
the trivia.
Let's do that.
This is a good question. I'm just looking at this right now. Who was looking out for your mom in that house full of men? 3 sons.
And your dad.
And your dad. And then
there's 5 people, 4 men.
Who was looking out for my mom? Yeah, that's a hard question. So, I mean, I think as little boys, my dad to some degree, but then I think as we got older, I think the healthcare person of the brothers does that as well. So Leighton has been the one that kind of, you know, because he has that expertise. I think each of us checks in on her and our parents from different perspectives.
Okay.
You know, they're kind of like making sure that I mean, Leighton's kind of making sure mom and dad are, from a health perspective, doing what they need to do. Sheldon is kind of like the informational person, you know, making sure that people get called and that that community is still connected to them, and checking that they're good and that they're connected to their grandkids and those types of things. And I'm kind of like okay, are you good? Let's check your overall. You're making sure that what are your plans for next?
Stuff.
Yeah. What are you know? Let's have a party. Let's sit down. Let's let everybody get on a Zoom. Let's have some conversations. I'm probably the table setter for some things, for quite a few things, and then, you know, my brothers also do some stuff on top of the table there. So, yeah.
Good woman.
Yeah, she is.
Your mom
she was always so nice to me.
Yeah, she's just naturally nice. She's a nice person.
I always liked her.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
So, in preparing for the show, we asked about sports, and you said you were a Jets fan for some reason, and not really sure what that's about, but
that's easy. I mean, so like
when
you're a kid,
why the Jets and not the Giants? But.
Well, nah, when you're a kid, you're starting to form allegiances. You kind of go with who's winning, right? So when I was little, the Jets were in the playoffs, and they lost the Mud Bowl and some other different things, but the Jets were good and the Giants stunk. The Giants were terrible at that point. So the Yankees were great. I mean, I came from Jamaica. We moved up. I was like early 80s. You know, we come and we're living in New York at that time. And so Yankees were good. The Mets were terrible. The Jets were good. The Giants were, Rangers were whack. The Islanders were on top. So it was Yankees, Jets, Islands. Yes, that was my allegiance. And then some stuff kind of flipped, and I could not shake the allegiance that was formed as a young man, as a pre-adolescent.
And of course, we only had one basketball team back then, so it wasn't a question.
Yeah, it was just Knicks. Yeah, that's it.
Knicks or Jets. I mean, like it was Knicks, so you don't like basketball.
Nah, they were in Jersey. That wasn't a legit New York team.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Buffalo Bills are like South Canada, so
right. All right, so I have a random question here. This is actually has nothing to do with the Jets, but the Jets is in the question. All right, so A Tribe Called Quest. I tried to mix music and sports. Okay, so A Tribe Called Quest did a song called "The Chase Part 2." In that song, Phife Dawg made a reference to one of the quarterbacks for the New York Jets. The question is, which quarterback did Phife Dawg reference in that song? You might not remember the actual.
I don't remember.
Song.
I'm thinking it's Vinny Testaverde.
Why would it be Vinny Testaverde? Do you remember,
I don't remember
a line with Vinny Testaverde in it?
Nah, it's somewhere in the back of my mind vaguely. I don't remember. Was it?
Vinny Testaverde's correct.
Yeah,
that's the right answer. Yeah. He actually said, "Your rhymes are incomplete," like Vinny Testaverde.
That's funny.
Because Testaverde had some struggles with making completion. So
no, but he was like for a little while. He was like a cult hero in New York for a little bit.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a couple good seasons.
Yeah.
He was dope for a little while, but Phife wasn't feeling him. So Phife immortalized that cat with incompletions.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. I love it.
There you go. Got our random trivia question correct. I don't have my applause.
I was gonna say, where's the sound effects?
I'm about to applaud myself.
There you go.
I got
there
it.
You go. That's funny. Thank you, Bobby, for coming on the show. This is kind of another conversation that I want to have part 2 on, because we started to get deep, and I was like, I like conversations like that. They never last.
It took a turn there right at the end. It started talking about some meaningful stuff.
The actual point of the show, we kind of got around to it 50 minutes
right.
in.
Yeah, we sprinkled some in there.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
so
vulnerability
thank you.
And your time too.
No problem.
And hang out if you can. Hang out in the back just a second.
Okay. Let's do it.
While we close out.
We're gonna end, and then we'll come back and talk to you a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bobby. We're gonna send you to the back. We're gonna do one more commercial, and we're gonna sign off.
I love reading books that help bring me closer to God, but once I put the book down, it's sometimes difficult to take the principle I just learned and apply it to my daily life.
You know, sometimes something similar happens to me after leaving church. I go to a great service and I feel spiritually fulfilled by the music, the preacher, the fellowship, but I don't always know what to do next.
To help solve this problem, we've created a unique resource to help you live your life with God more fully.
The God is a Person workbook includes additional practical steps and challenges that can be done individually or with a group. They are designed to help bridge the gap between the decision to live with God and starting a lifestyle of living with God.
Each practical step also includes access to a short video where we give further encouragement and insight.
Visit cpnix.com or Apple Books to order your copy today. And of course, our first commercial is always silly, and our second commercial is always serious. So that's a real resource.
Right, that was real.
That was that was there's a sweet incense, but there is a God as a Person workbook.
Yes, and there's a book as well
to help you actually make a life with God practical.
I read it recently as a reader, and I'm really proud of us. That's actually it's really easy to digest.
Yeah,
it's quick to get through. The chapters aren't cumbersome.
Yeah,
and we say some stuff in there. We got some good stuff in there. Like I think we have a good product. Not that I didn't think before, but you know.
I actually wanted to ask Bobby. We ran out of time, but I wanted to ask him because what we found with writing the books that we've written is the process of writing the books was very edifying for us as students of the material that we're presenting. And I was going to ask him a similar idea, right? How much has he kind of grown from his work? Where you have to kind of learn a thing in order to present it, and you know, we actually read part of our maybe it wasn't you and I, because I teach from the book. It might have been just me. I read a chapter recently, maybe like a year ago, something like that, and I was like, "There's stuff in this book I don't remember writing, and that I don't have mastered yet."
Correct.
It's true. I believe it. Here is the evidence of it, but I still haven't quite figured it out in my own life. So it's a growth tool even for me, even though I'm the presenter, one of the presenters of the, So I was going to ask him. I wanted to ask him that, but we started talking about other stuff that was deep. So
I've had a similar experience. There's a chapter in particular that I was reading, and it wasn't that I no longer believed what we had written, but I know so much more now that I wish that could have included in the book, but I didn't know it back then.
Yeah.
But I just
that's why people do
experience.
updated versions and stuff, because there's all there's always growth. Not always, but when the material is meaningful, there's always going to be growth from when you present it. That's almost like a snapshot at one point in time. If you continue to live your life and grow, a year later, you know a bunch more stuff about the same thing. You'd be like, man, we should have done that in chapter 2 instead of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't go back and change it, but
yeah.
So anyway,
thanks everybody for
thanks everybody.
us.
That was fun, Claire. I've missed you.
Seriously. We need to do this
fun
again.
for me. And we haven't done this in a while. We should do this again. Yeah.
It feels good.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
We'll be back in a couple weeks, Lord willing, and I think that episode is gonna be fun. A lot of fun. I think
the next episode is gonna be crazy. It's definitely not gonna be an hour. I'll tell you that. It's gonna go overtime.
Yeah. So come back then, and we'll see y'all later. Have a great night. cpnix.com. Go buy our book.
cpnix.com. Check us out. And the end. Peace.
Bye.